that this Assembly recognises the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on young people, their personal and professional development, mental health and career prospects, recognises that 16 to 24-year-olds have been among the most disproportionately affected by the pandemic and lockdown restrictions, expresses deep concern that the Minister of Finance has not provided certainty that funding commitments for the Job Start scheme in Northern Ireland can be honoured in the next financial year, and calls on the Minister for Communities to commit to the implementation and rollout of the Job Start scheme without further delay to address serious youth unemployment challenges.
I now call Paul Frew to formally move the motion.
Mr Deputy Speaker, moved.
Thank you. The Business Committee has agreed to allow 1 hour and 30 minutes for this debate. The proposer of the motion will have 10 minutes to propose and a further 10 minutes to wind. All other speakers will have 5 minutes. Now I invite you to open the debate on the motion.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. On Monday, the 23rd of November 2020, I asked the then Communities Minister, who was different from the Minister who sits here today in front of us, but I asked that Communities Minister why she was feeling the most vulnerable in society. I talked about people not being able to go through PIP and the ESA appeals, but I also mentioned the Kickstart programme and asked why it had not been commenced. The Minister answered, "The Kickstart scheme will not be introduced this month because we are not calling it Kickstart, we are calling it Job Start. It will be far better than what the British government in England introduced. It will be a bespoke programme, and if I introduce it, it would be done during a 2-week lockdown, and I do not want that to happen because as soon as it is introduced, the clock starts ticking." Well, Mr Deputy Speaker, the clock is ticking. It is ticking grievously for those young people who have degrees, who have qualifications, who have all sorts of qualifications and exams passed at the highest level. But yet, those young people find it very difficult to find employment. And it's not about lockdown. A lot of these employers or potential employers are from the digital world, from the high-tech end of manufacturing and data processing, of computer firms, whereby they can operate nearly as normal in a lockdown scenario. Lockdown should not be the excuse for failure to act by any minister in this place. In fact, lockdown should be the inspiration and the stimulus to do more, to react better, and to achieve something for these young people, knowing the damage that the economic and societal lockdown is having, particularly for our young people that would benefit from this Job Starter Kickstart scheme. And yet, we have seen nothing roll out. It hasn't been better for people in Northern Ireland, for those young people, compared to GB. There has been no bespoke programme put in place to help those people. And I hope today, having this motion down before us and having the Minister address it, we can give those young people hope today. Now, I believe there's been commentary about the tone of language today in this House. Let's leave this House today inspired, having given our young people hope, having given our employers hope that something good could come out of this motion today. And I'm here, standing here today, Mr Deputy Speaker, telling the Minister very plainly that if she was to bring forward a programme, she would find support from me and my party in rolling it out. But I just do not understand why after so many weeks and months we have seen nothing. Now, there seems to be an issue around the Department of Communities with the Department of Finance. But when you look through all the financial documents that the Executive has published, you can see clearly that there are levels of support that can be, the licence is there for the Minister to move forward. Even in the draft budget that's out for consultation at the present, the Department of Communities has a paragraph, a bullet point that states supporting people to find work and the provision of a tailored recruitment service for employers across the region. Even in the budget bill, which has been debated and passed in this House, in all 4 schedules, it states provision of youth and adult employment services, programmes and skills training programmes, employment schemes and services, including those for people with disabilities, and career information, advice, guidance services. In every single schedule of our budget bill, which has been passed, you can see very clearly, Mr Deputy Speaker, that there is provision left for a scheme such as this. And it's very important that the ministers involved roll out the scheme, because it's important that these young people are picked up and given hope for the future. In summer 2020, the Chancellor announced a new employer initiative aimed at creating 6-month paid work placements for young people who are at risk of long-term unemployment. They called it the Kickstart Scheme. I don't care what this minister calls it. It needs to be rolled out, because we have seen the benefits. By January 25th, more than 120,000 jobs for 16 to 24-year-olds had been created in GB. The government also made it simpler for employers of all sizes to benefit from joining the scheme by removing the limit requiring that they create a minimum of 30 vacancies to apply directly. That means that employers of all scale and size could avail of this scheme. But here in Northern Ireland, there has been nothing. I met with employers and potential employees only a number of weeks ago, and they are so downhearted, Mr Deputy Speaker. Employees, because they want to employ these young people, they see they've even got them earmarked for employment, they see the talent before them, and they just cannot employ them. They need help and support. I've spoken to the potential employees. The potential and the skill base is brilliant. It is beyond scale. And yet this Executive is failing those young people. Our future, the future of this country. And we are saying to them here today, because of indecision, that when they look across at GB and they see the scheme, albeit small fry, but it still helps to create 120,000 jobs for 6 months in GB. And our young people, think that they are not worthy because our ministers don't see fit to roll out a similar scheme. And this was handed, I will, if I have time at the end, I will. And this was an easy scheme to adopt. This wasn't some high-brain scheme that had to be developed and engineered and manufactured. This was a scheme that all we had to do was lift off from GB and implement. Implement, I will give way.
I thank the member for giving way. I don't know if the member was listening to Good Morning Ulster this morning, Mr Speaker, but there was an eminent lecture on, and he was outlining the impact of the COVID restrictions on the different sectors of the community. And what the report has indicated is that those most disproportionately affected are young people. And one of the reasons is because of what the member has alluded to in terms of those employment opportunities. So would the member agree with me that actually perhaps in terms of that intent, that's where we need to be focusing our attention tonight?
Absolutely. I thank the member for his intervention because he makes a very valid point, and it's good to have it on record. But let's remember that not only did the minister have to lift a scheme that was already designed and apply it to Northern Ireland, we also received funding for that scheme. We received funding for that scheme. Where is that funding now, Mr Deputy Speaker? Where is that funding? And we have lost a massive opportunity because we should have put something in place this year. But it's not too late. And I want to end, Mr Deputy Speaker, with hope. Hope that this minister will be able to put something in place that will do the very thing that's being done in England with regards to supporting the employers and the potential employees. Let's get our young people into work. Let's get our young people motivated to go and display the skills that they have within them. They are the future of this country. And why is it that the party opposite seems to think that it's not worthy and that they do not need the support through this scheme? I plead with the Minister here today, and I thank her for her attendance here. Please, Minister, roll out this scheme. Lift the scheme from GB if you have to. Let's get it out on the ground as soon as possible. No more excuses with regards to lockdown or other excuses. Let's get it rolled out. Let's get these young people employed. Let's assist the employers and the firms, and let's get Northern Ireland back to work. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker.